Article. Apparently, Arike Ogunbowale was arrested in 11 nightclub in Miami after winning the unrivaled championship. She punched a man in the face, knocked him to the floor. That is what is in the article. We got to get into this, man. Look, these ladies dragging this league. Now, y'all dragging Caitlin Clark's league down one by one. This is crazy.
From championship celebration to a Miami jail cell in less than 4 hours. Arike Ogunbowale punched a security guard in the face at Club 11, knocked him to the ground, and got arrested for battery. And this isn't happening in a vacuum. While she's getting booked, the entire WNBA season hangs in the balance because the players' union and league ownership can't agree on a new CBA. The deadline was March 10th. That date has come and gone. No deal. No counterproposal. Just silence.
Salone, that Don Julio repo gets you. That Don Julio repo had you ready to squabble up. Squabble up. That Don Julio repo will get your ass. I'm telling y'all, better be easy. Y'all was out there going hard. Here it says, WNBA star Arike Ogunbowale went from celebrating her unrivaled championship to posing for a mugshot. The Hooper was arrested after allegedly punching a security guard at a Miami nightclub on Thursday. Why are you punching a security guard? What did he do? Hey, security, what'd you do? I want to know. Wait, I ain't just going to throw Arike under the bus.
Here's what actually happened that night in Miami. According to the police complaint obtained by TMZ Sports, officers responded to a physical altercation at the rear exit of Club 11. The security guard told police he was escorting Arike and her group out due to an unrelated altercation when she closed-fist punched him in the face. The impact sent him to the ground. Security footage captured the entire incident. She was identified on scene and taken into custody without incident. This wasn't some accidental bump or misunderstanding. The complaint specifically states closed fist, intentional, forceful enough to drop a grown man.
Was capped on security footage. Ogunbowale and her Miss teammates were at the club to celebrate their championship over the Phantom. Earlier in the night, she scored 19 points in the big win. Social media footage shows Ogunbowale. Hold on. Hey, y'all going hard. Y'all, I'm swagging. I'm surfing. You arrested. You arrested. Y'all got to calm the hell down. You went from swagging and surfing to arrested and locked up, okay? You got to calm the hell down. Why are y'all fighting people in 11 nightclub, man?
Think about the timeline here. Earlier that same night, Arike scored 19 points, leading the Miss to the unrivaled championship over Phantom BC. She's celebrating the biggest win of her offseason. Teams at the club, bottles are flowing, everyone's riding high. Then something happens. An unrelated altercation breaks out. Security steps in to escort them out. Standard procedure. But instead of leaving quietly, Arike escalates it to assault. The league just watched their ratings explode because of Caitlin Clark. Viewership up 300%. Attendance records shattered. National media attention at an all-time high, and now one of their marquee players is in handcuffs for punching security at a nightclub. The optics couldn't be worse.
Now, we all know the CBA debacle that is happening. Terry Jackson needs to be fired. Neko Gumake needs to be fired. They are trying to bury this league. They're trying to burn the league on their way out. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, we all know that the negotiations aren't going to the way that us fans need it to go because we ultimately want a damn season. We want to watch Caitlin Clark play by any means necessary. And it seems like that is on the brink of not happening as it is the 6th. The WNBA gave them until the 10th to sign a deal. There still has not been a counter offer sent in at this moment. And it's been a debacle.
But Arike's arrest is just one symptom of a much bigger problem. The CBA negotiations have completely collapsed. The league gave the players' union a deadline of March 10th to reach an agreement. That deadline passed with no deal, no counterproposal from the union, nothing. And according to multiple reports, the two sides aren't even close on the core issue, revenue sharing. The players want a percentage of gross revenue. The league is offering a percentage of net revenue. Those sound similar, but they're drastically different numbers. Gross revenue is total money coming in before expenses. Net revenue is what's left after the league pays for everything. Operating costs, arena rentals, travel, salaries, marketing. The difference between those two numbers could be tens of millions of dollars.
There's so much to unpack. I think a lot of us reacted quizzically to the leak from Kelsey Plum and Breanna Stewart because it did come from just them and not the other 5 members of the executive committee. I think that Sophie's statement on her podcast was incredibly strong and exactly what the players need, because the league is banking on the messaging of there being fractures within the players union and amongst the players. And to the players union's credit, they came out and said 84% of us are down to strike still.
Sophie's statement on her podcast made the union's position crystal clear. They will not budge on revenue sharing. That's the line in the sand. Everything else is negotiable, but not that. The problem is, the league appears equally dug in on their position. They're offering 70% of net revenue, according to recent reporting. The union says that's not good enough because net revenue can be manipulated through accounting. Here's why that matters. If the league can categorize more expenses as operating costs, net revenue shrinks, which means the player's percentage is calculated from a smaller number. It's why every major sports league negotiates based on gross revenue or basketball-related income, not net. The accounting is transparent. You can't hide revenue that way.
Percentage, which has been the entire point of of contention for these entire negotiations, just goes to show that the league is banking on the players union turning against one another, and they're not going to do that. And so I was very happy to see this response after the letter was leaked, because I think a lot of us were disappointed and confused as to
the league, or at least the latest reporting has been that the league is actually offering 70% of net. So those are 2 drastically different numbers, but neither side has put out their math and showed us how they got.
And the timing of all this reveals something important about the league's negotiating strategy. They went 6 full weeks spanning the entire month of January without sending a counterproposal to the players' union. 6 weeks of silence. Then when they finally showed up to the in-person meeting in early February, they didn't bring a proposal with them. They sent it a few days later. So the league burned through 6 weeks. Then they're the ones setting this hard deadline of March 10th, saying we need a decision or we can't start free agency, can't hold the draft, can't finalize the expansion draft for Golden State and Toronto. They created the time crunch through their own delays, then used that manufactured urgency to pressure the union into accepting their terms. That's not good faith negotiation. That's a pressure tactic.
Sophie also made it clear on her podcast that they will not budge on revenue, and that is the issue. That is the issue. She made that point multiple times during her podcast, and that's why I've always said it's hard to move on other things where your big issue, where your key issue, you're far apart on. And in my opinion, they're still far apart.
It absolutely seems like they're far apart. And I think that the timing of all of this is important. The fact that the league went those 6 weeks that spanned the entirety of January, not giving a counter proposal.
The players' union responded with a vote. 84% said they're still willing to strike. That's not a slim majority. That's an overwhelming mandate. And it directly contradicts the narrative the league has been pushing through carefully placed media leaks. The story they want out there is that the union is fractured. That veteran stars like Kelsey Plum and Breanna Stewart leaked that letter because they're worried about losing a season. That younger players are getting nervous. That cracks are forming. But 84% support for a strike tells a different story. The union is unified. They're not blinking, and they're calling the league's bluff.
And I believe it was early February, didn't have a proposal. Then they do give the players union the counter proposal a few days later, but that was 6 weeks that lapsed. And then they're the ones setting this deadline of, hey, we need to have a decision by March 10 or to get, free agency started, to play in the draft, expansion drafts, all these things that need to be checked off once a deal is reached. If a deal is reached, it has to go both ways. So I think that that's a very key.
Now connect these two stories. Arike gets arrested the same week CBA negotiations collapse. Both stories reflect the same underlying issue. The WNBA is at a critical inflection point, and nobody seems to know how to handle the pressure. The league just had its best season in history. Caitlin Clark brought mainstream attention, corporate sponsorships, and millions of new fans. The financial trajectory is pointing up for the first time in decades. But instead of capitalizing on that momentum, the league is fumbling it. They can't close a CBA deal. Their players are getting arrested at nightclubs. The start of the season is in jeopardy, and every day this drags on, they're bleeding goodwill from the casual fans who just discovered the sport. This is not how you manage success. This is how you squander it.
Was capped on security footage. Ogunbowale and her Miss teammates were at the club to celebrate their championship over the Phantom. Earlier in the night, she scored 19 points in the big win. Social media footage shows Ogunbowale. Hold on. Hey, y'all going hard. Y'all, I'm swagging. I'm surfing. You arrested. You arrested. Y'all gotta calm the hell down.
Let's be clear about what's at stake here. If the players strike, there's no WNBA season, no Caitlin Clark Rookie Campaign Part 2, no Angel Reese, no Aja Wilson chasing more records. All those casual fans who tuned in last year, they're gone. They'll find something else to watch. And getting them back will be nearly impossible. The league knows this. The players know this. But neither side is willing to compromise on the fundamental issue. The players have watched the NBA players get 50% of basketball-related income. They've watched the league's revenue explode because of Caitlin Clark, and they're saying, we want our fair share of that growth. Not net revenue accounting tricks. Real money. The league's position is that the WNBA still operates at a loss, that the NBA subsidizes them to the tune of tens of millions per year, that they can't give away money they're not making. Both positions have merit. Both sides have legitimate arguments, but neither is willing to meet in the middle, and that's the problem. Meanwhile, Arike Ogunbowale is facing a battery charge that could result in jail time, fines, and a league suspension. The Dallas Wings have to answer questions about their star player punching security guards instead of talking about their championship aspirations, and the entire league looks dysfunctional to the mainstream sports media that just started paying attention. This is the worst possible timing for this kind of chaos. The WNBA finally broke through to the mainstream. They finally have leverage with networks, sponsors, and casual fans. And they're wasting it on internal dysfunction and bad headlines. Here's what needs to happen. The league and union need to bring in a federal mediator, someone with no stake in either side who can facilitate actual compromise. They need to agree on transparent revenue definitions, basketball-related income, not net revenue, clear accounting that both sides can verify, and they need to do it in the next 2 weeks or the season is in real jeopardy. As for Arike, she needs to take accountability, release a statement, apologize to the security guard, explain what happened without making excuses, accept whatever punishment the league hands down, and use this as a wake-up call about how she handles herself in public. Because right now, the WNBA is its own worst enemy. They have everything they've been asking for: attention, investment, mainstream coverage, corporate sponsors, and they're blowing it through self-inflicted wounds. Arike's arrest, CBA chaos, leaked letters, public infighting. None of this had to happen. All of it is preventable. The question is whether the people running this league are capable of getting out of their own way long enough to capitalize on the opportunity in front of them. Because if they can't, all that momentum from last season disappears. The casual fans move on. The corporate sponsors get nervous. And the WNBA goes back to being a niche product that nobody outside hardcore fans cares about. That would be a tragedy. Not just for the players who deserve to be compensated fairly, but for the sport itself. Women's basketball is finally getting the respect and attention it deserves, finally being taken seriously by mainstream sports media, finally proving it can draw ratings and sell tickets. Don't waste it on nightclub arrests and negotiating tactics. Get a deal done. Start the season on time. Let Caitlin Clark and Aja Wilson and Breanna Stewart do what they do best, and give the fans who just discovered this sport a reason to keep watching. So here's my question for you. Who's more at fault for this mess? The players' union for refusing to compromise on revenue sharing, or the league for burning 6 weeks and then manufacturing a deadline crisis? Because somebody has to blink here, and neither side seems willing to do it. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want more WNBA coverage as this situation develops, hit that subscribe button, because this story is far from over.